for all things Austin real estate, checking out our vibrant city and seeing what we could chat about in regards to trends, insights, innovations, and the landscape of Austin. Today's episode, we're talking about the future of Austin. Me and my realtor co-hosts are here with our guest, Thuy Phan. Thuy, you have a pretty extensive background. I first met Thuy in real estate investment circles around the brokerage. He essentially left IBM and got into a wealth of different real estate investments spanning from a lot of work in Austin, apartment complexes, hard money lending, cabinet company, work in Waco, Marshall, Texas,
private equity.
And Thuy, welcome to have you. Anything you would like to say that I missed out on as we talk about the future of Austin?
Oh no, that was perfect. Thank you for having me. And this is my first podcast, so I'm pretty excited. This is cool. I've never been invited to a podcast before.
Really?
Well, party.
Yeah, with my vast experience of everything you've said, this is the first time I've been on a podcast.
Yeah, and one thing that's interesting, I think, regarding Austin and a big project that you're working on in Waco is, I guess, the future of I-35 as a corridor as well, because you also have a project in Waco and you're working, I guess, what Austinites would use as a resort space, like another hour and a half drive to projects and developments like you may be involved with.
Yeah. So everybody knows Austin is super, super expensive right now compared to even just 4 or 5 years ago, pre-COVID, right? So even before that, when I was investing, I was doing a lot of urban infill projects, mostly on the east side. But sitting on the board of the directors for Housing Works, I was privy to a lot of the developments going on in the city, especially being close to the affordable housing nonprofits. I got to see a lot of the overlay of the maps of where the developments are going. And I can tell you, it is just spot on. If you are an investor, you can hold long-term or you can develop. There is no way you can make a mistake when you follow the development trends. Let's say back in 2008 to 2011, I don't know if you guys remember, the TODs were hot. That was like a new zoning that the city developed, which is the transit-oriented development with the Metro Rail. So I was telling everybody about back then, but because of the recession, everyone was afraid, and they ended up kicking themselves in the butt after that. So when VMU was hot, that was when we started getting into vertical mixed use. All the new zoning, you got to pay attention to what the city's doing, because that's opening up a lot of gateways into different areas. And if you're one of the first few people in there, you get the price at a very discounted price, but you have to have the holding ability to move forward, because if you're first in there, of course, your price is phenomenal. If you start following the trailblazers, you're going to be paying premiums throughout the year. So that's what I learned being in a lot of the nonprofit sector, along with the real estate investing, is follow the trends of where the city overlay of all the huge developments coming in. For example, when the Mueller development came in, if you were investing around there, you struck it big. The Domain, I was working at the Domain back in the late 90s, early 2000, when they sold it. And I didn't understand anything about real estate at the time. But if I did, and I bought all around there, oh my gosh, probably everything around there, I would have hit over $10 million in just holding alone, just because it's ridiculous right now. And a lot of the trends that I move into when it's still early, I get my family involved because they're living there. I had an extra need for a lot of cash flow, so I had to flip a lot of my stuff. But families and friends I brought onto the east side, and at around 2010, I brought my cousins into the Domain area about 5, 10 years ago. I brought some other cousins into the Oracle site below the river. And now, all their properties. I said, I was so confident. I told them, if you don't make $50,000 to $100,000 living here in 5 to 10 years, I'll buy the property back from you. And of course, all of them are making at least $50,000 or $100,000 in all, and they just lived it. It's just I didn't have the holding capacity to do that. But if you have friends and family that just need a place to stay, a simple fix and flip instead of flipping, just stay there, put in about $50,000, make it extremely nice. You can live it for a long time and then see your property double in value easily.
Right. So this is all great because it made sense. And I think at this point in the era of real estate, it's all hindsight. Like we see Austin has blown up, whether it's the Domain, Mueller, the East Side, high rises downtown. There's an affordability issue, I think, now. Can you still give that same advice to people, or do you see town centers being built around Austin? I mean, you kind of left Austin too. You did some urban infill, which I still think has some opportunities, but you also kind of left town and did some things too.
Yeah. So I would never stop urban infill project. Those are easy for me. I mean, those are like simple 1+1 is 2 because you have your immediate comps. You know what you're buying it for. And if you've been doing it for a while, you know what your construction costs are. It's just a matter of how much money do you want to make at that point. So urban infill projects to me are a no-brainer. That's an open shut case. So if you've got those opportunities, play that all day long, no matter where you are. If it's a duplex condo that you're doing on the east side and it's about $1.5 million, well, just work the numbers backwards, right? If you're selling your large one for about $1 million, you're selling your small unit for about $500,000. What's your construction cost? Everyone's number is different. I have a construction partner. I'm super lazy, JJ. You know that. I don't do anything by myself. I always bring partners. Mm-hmm. So I have a construction partner that runs that aspect. I run the numbers. He does the construction, and then that's it. That's just 1+1 is 2. Now, if you're talking about people who with a little bit less money and less experience, the further east you go, there's still possibility there. Just like when we were doing it back in 2005, I was 5 blocks from I-35. Eventually, I went to was it Comel and then Chacon and then Pleasant Valley. I kept going further east. The trend is still there. It's not going away. The city is expanding at about, somebody fact check me on this, but since 2005, 2010, we were averaging or growing at around 5 to 10% a year job growth, population growth. If you run the numbers, 5% population growth on 1 million is 50,000 people a year. For easy math, I don't want to divide by 12. Let's divide by 10. Let's assume there's 10 months in a year. That's about 5,000 people in Austin. So you average about three people per family. You're over 100 units that you got to be producing. I'm sorry, 5,000 divided by 3. You're over 1,000 units you're producing a month to keep up with the population growth. So the expansion of Austin, there's some movement south, but I still see very strong movements going to the east side, especially along the river. You can't go wrong with water. I-35, you can't go wrong there because no matter what happens, you need traffic flow. So if I had to bet, I'd bet north going I-35. Dallas is going south and north. Austin is also growing south and north, but I see a more northward trend. And you saw that in our history, Pflugerville, Round Rock, and now Georgetown. Back when I was working at IBM, I had one coworker work in Georgetown. And he's like, oh my gosh, nobody lives there. And now you see Georgetown is just crazy. Once I hit Georgetown going from Waco down, I'm hitting traffic. So you can see you can't really go wrong along the river, on the waterfronts, and on the major corridors like I-35. And then you've got your 71 81 down to 71. You see the tollway and 183 there going down to the airport. You got the F1 there, and there's major development planning to go around there. So if you're going in early and you have holding capacity, holding power, which I don't currently right now. I'm invested in 2 new businesses, but I definitely go down there if you have holding power.
I have a question. What if you were, let's say you were a new investor in the Austin market and you wanted to seek out a place or a project to invest in? Do you have like criteria that you go through? Do you have a particular type? You were talking about fix and flips or holds. Like, what would you say is the thing to focus on today in your mind in Austin?
Okay, well, to answer that, I would have another question is I would ask the person, are you interested in long-term buy and hold and rental, or are you interested in flipping and getting immediate income? Because in Austin right now, you can't do both. You can't buy a property and rent it and make money in the core of Austin. You have to flip it. That's why all our urban infill projects, my partner's been saying, hey, let's keep these. It's like, we can't. We'd lose money. The rent that comes in doesn't make sense. But if we go to the outskirts, then yes, that's where you do your $10,000 to $50,000 renovation and rent it out. But if you're looking at making an annual cash flow through fix and flip, then the urban core is still going to be your best bet. But it's all dependent on how much money you have, right? So the less money you have, the further out you have to go. But then even before that, we have to talk about trends. So if you're light on cash and you're new, I don't know if now is the best time to be in any real estate market. And you guys mind if I share a little bit of history so that they can understand when we move forward? Yeah. So what I'm going to tell you guys is it's called market emotions. I didn't know this until I failed in 2 different industries before I realized what market emotion was. So
and real quick, are you saying be hesitant about real estate? Is that what you're?
If you know what you're doing, if you don't, you want to understand the trends first. So okay. I'm going to back up to 1999. I know I'm dating myself big time here, but when I was working, right, I didn't know real estate, so I knew a little bit about stocks, but I didn't know enough to be day trading. So I was just very diversified into blue chip stocks, like large cap stocks, IBM, Microsoft, all the big guys, Oracle. So when people were saying, oh, I made 50 to 100%, I'm sitting here, dang, I'm only making 30% when everyone was going crazy and talking about the stock market. And then the .com burst. I was like, I'm safe. I'm not going to sell. Only because the fundamentals were just crazy. I wasn't in anything high risk. So I thought I'll keep everything. And guess what? I ended up keeping everything till 2003. I lost over 30% of my portfolio. And I was like, well, what happened? And then I realized, okay, then afterwards, of course, we were studying and it's like, oh, it's just market emotions. When people are afraid, no matter how good what you're holding in your hand, no one's afraid to exchange or trade money or trade currency, so you're stuck with it. So what I'm saying is when the market goes down, you want to sell instead of buy. Does that make sense? But if you're doing a quick 3 to 6 month or 9 month flip, it doesn't matter because you got the comps to generate for that current data, so you're okay. But if you're holding long term, I'd say let the market soften a little more. Okay, so now continue to 2008. So that was the stock market. Again, we
the
were
dot-com bust.
The dot-com burst in stocks.
Yeah.
So of course I recovered, but I had the holding capacity. In 2008, I was invested in quite a few urban infill projects on the east side. And I told all my investors, don't worry about it. We're cool. We're good. Austin is growing. We have job growth, population growth. Same thing. I'm talking about fundamentals, right? So I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I told all my investors to hold with me, and then every year I had to give financials to all our projects. And like, don't worry about it, we're good. And I keep showing them statistics. And I don't know if you guys remember at that time, up to a year in like 2009 and first quarter, commercial was still really strong. So I was like, the commercial side is really strong, guys. Don't worry, the residential will hold. And then when the commercial started plummeting, I was like, oh crap. But it's like, hey, it's okay. We still have job growth, population growth. I don't see where all these people are going. And I still don't know where they went, but no one was buying. So my East Side portfolio went down about 25%. And then I started freaking out because all the taxes were due every year. So in 2003, I sold one of our projects, and 6 months later, oh my gosh, it jumped up 300,000. I was like, ah. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to answer your question, Ian, is when is a good, you always want to do real estate, right? But what are you doing? If you're doing a quick flip, no problem. Just use comps. You're safe all day long. If you're doing a long-term hold, you notice in 1999 to 2003, that's about a 4-year gap there before the market rebound for stocks. 2008 to 2011, that was about a 3-year gap before the real estate market rebound, right? So I'm not saying that that's the formula, but I'm saying it takes about 1 to 3 years for the downturn to hit. And I don't know where the bottom is, but if you give it about a year and see where it's going, and then if it starts going up, then you buy, hey, you didn't lose much. But if it starts going down more, it's okay. You're actually buying on the down instead of the up, and then just ride it up. But you have to have holding power. So I wouldn't recommend for a new investor to do a long-term hold and buy right now. If they're doing a flip, great. You got all the realtors with all the comps that can hold your hand through it and say, hey, within 6 months, I think we're still okay. Does that answer your question, Ian? That was emotional, the market emotions in two different investment entities or vehicles, but they did the exact same thing. No one was buying or selling because of fear. So, I'm a super factual guy, engineering background. So it was all factual, but I neglected to see the emotional side of the market. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys and our listeners is be paying attention to the market. No matter how strong your fundamentals are, it's just the fundamentals don't control a human reaction when it comes to fear.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about the market now, and again, it's hindsight. I remember Austin being hot for affordability.
Oh, yes.
I don't think people don't look at Austin no anymore and say, hey, that's a cool, affordable town. They might still say it's cool. So how much east are you talking? Because it starts to get urban East Austin is still perceived as a lot of people in the country, maybe not a lot of people from, let's just say, the west side of the country may not think it's affordable. But where does that leave Austin now? You still think, or is it like Del Valley or Georgetown? Is there anything worth, are we going to catch what we caught before? Are we kind of going to be flat for a while?
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you guys is if you look at someone help me with what's the current job growth and population growth. We're at 1.7 million right now, right? Versus, when I moved to Austin, it was 500 to 700,000 people. At 1 million people, that's 5% is 5,000 people. Where do you think they're going? They can't go anywhere. So they're gonna expand out. It's called urban sprawl. They can only go out so far, and then they hit the dollar amount. Let's say a new engineer graduates, they're about $90,000 to $100,000. You multiply that by 3 or maybe 4x, and that's what they can afford. So that's where I would say if you're a big developer, you're going to need to develop within that space where a new grad would be able to afford that house. because UT is what, about 50 to 60,000 students a year. So a lot of those people that go in for engineering, and that's my background, they tend to stay. That's what happened to me. I grew up in Rochester, New York. I came down here for school, and then I stayed here till now. So there's a lot of job opportunities there, and most people that go here for high tech, they stay because it's still, if you compare to California, for example, they can still come over here and buy two houses, one to live in and one to rent out. So affordability is from what perspective?
Relative. Yeah, it says right here, Biz Journal, this is April of this year. Austin has the hottest job market in Texas, and it's considered one of the best in the country. That's according to the Wall Street Journal's annual ranking of America's hottest job markets. The Texas capital ranked number 7 overall, tied with Nashville, and beat out Dallas.
So, JJ, you tell me. I was only calculating 5% on a million. Now we're at about 1.7 million. What's 5% of that? And where are those people going to stay? So you have to do the old urban sprawl map and see along the rivers, nice, along the I-35 corridor is nice. That's where people are going. So they want easy access, or as easy as possible, to get to their job. So that's where I would still continue to invest, is along those major employers.
So I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people are more concerned with how easy it is to get to their job, or how easy is it to get to their extracurricular activities in school?
I would say this is my personal opinion. I can't answer for everybody. Job, because I'm, again, lazy. I have to go there at least 5 days a week. Extracurricular activity, I don't know, maybe once a week or twice a week. So having an engineer background, I'm thinking efficiency, right? How much driving?
I guess what I'm saying is, do you think we're in a position where everyone has to go back every day during the week? Right? There's still a large population that works 100% remote.
Oh, yeah. Austin is pretty, I wouldn't say unique. It's kind of rare since high tech. I notice a lot of people working from home now. You're absolutely correct. I forgot about that. If that's the case, then the high tech people would actually want to live where they play versus where they work. I know a couple of my cousins, they live around the Domain area, but they work way down south. I showed them a few properties that they fixed up and lived around the Domain area, just because they like the Domain, and it's and that was another cousin I showed that lived on below the river. There was a condo there that she bought below 200,000. I said, "Oh man, below 200,000, just take it. I don't care how much renovation you need."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. You're right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's why people like me, I've been doing urban infill on the east side, even though that was the highest crime rate back then. I don't know about now, but that was close to downtown. It was close to Zilker Park. That was close to pretty much everything. So, I decided to move my whole family down there and move into one of our projects back in 2007. And at that time, I was working up north.
So you sound kind of bullish, or you're following the employment trend, because that's obviously going to be a population trend, and they're going to have to move somewhere. So you still understand that there's pockets to be had.
You can't avoid it. Tell me where people are living. They have to have 5,000 people a month. Where are they going? So that's why I'm bullish about a city that keeps growing in job and population. You can't go wrong. I mean, a mistake, I'd say maximum it takes you 5 years to correct it if you made a mistake, and be at least even or higher.
Regarding these town centers, you think it's still the Domain? You think it's still Eastside Mueller? Is there anything else to gravitate around, like downtown Round Rock, downtown Georgetown?
Oh yeah, Round Rock, Georgetown, they're all affordable. When I put those in quotations, there's a lot of
Right.
people moving there. The people with more money, they're moving towards West. Is it Westwood High School? Being Asian, I just have knowledge of this. Is I don't care how expensive
You could
that
say that.
neighborhood is. Asian people are going to gravitate towards the best ranking schools in the city. So if you have a little more money, I know a lot of Asian people moving around that area. You can't go wrong there. So you just have to focus on who your target audience is. And if you don't have a target audience, then stick with the I-35 corridor, stick with the river, go out as far as you can where you can afford it. I don't think you're going to make a mistake just because where are 5,000 people going to go every month?
Yeah.
They're going to need some place that's affordable, and wherever your pocket, what you can afford is what some people can afford. If you have $1 million and you're going to be closer, you're going to play with a higher number. If you've got $100,000 to play with, you're going to play with a lower number, but know that you can't really go wrong in the Austin market.
So
Daphne, go ahead.
I was going to ask Daphne a question. I kind of have a question for all of us, but Daphne, I want to hear your thoughts on this. How do y'all feel about the opposite side of the lake, like your Lago Vista and your Jonestown areas, in comparison to the Austin market?
My immediate response is I don't have much of an opinion or a thought on there. And then follow-up being, I don't work in those areas.
I see.
And I think I don't work in those areas because it's a lot of like folks that are retiring or folks that are just looking for a very chill lifestyle. Obviously, Lago Vista has the lake and you can get some really beautiful new construction homes, but there's no industry really to speak of. There's no tech companies there. You have to drive quite a bit to go to the grocery store. Gyms, recreation, things that people would want, like neighborhood amenities, just generally don't exist in Lago Vista.
And I bring that one up specifically because Treviso comes up a lot. And I know it's not Lago, but it's starting to get out there in that direction. And it has a pretty decent school rating. But you end up with a lot of people that don't necessarily understand the geography of Austin. And then they buy there because they see good prices, good schools.
I can tell you this. I've been introduced by several realtors and investors and builders who wanted me to fund their projects in Lago Vista, and I'm glad I didn't. It's because Daphne just hit it on the head. There's just so much money being exchanged within Austin that you go out there, and I would have had to held till now to make some decent sized profits if I went there back in before 2010 or even after 2010. It just didn't move much for me because I needed a lot of traction, a lot of money transfer to make money. And if I was doing a long-term investment there, probably that's a good area. And you're looking at retirees now, I have to take back my words, but now there's a lot of baby boomers coming, right? So it's a little bit different. But if I had invested in Lago Vista back in mid 2000 to 2010, I would be in a lot of trouble trying to hold it till now, and that would be a lot of increase. But again, we have a lot of baby boomers coming up, so that's why I went further north on I-35 to Waco, looking at assisted living and trying to produce projects to accommodate the civil tsunami that's coming, right?
So tell us more about the civil tsunami. I love that. Silver tsunami, sorry.
Okay, so I'm assuming that we all know what the silver tsunami is. That's just the baby boomers, right? That's the biggest population boom that we've had in the U.S.
It's the color of the hair, right?
It's the color of the hair, yes. And it's a tsunami because it's the biggest boom we've ever had in the U.S. So those people.
I guess what I'm saying is, where do you see this playing out as far as real estate and locations and that sort of thing?
Okay, so I've been hearing this for the last 10 years, and I never found the right partner to do assisted living. But a lot of the assisted living, you need an administrator. There's a lot of license certificates involved and staff. So if you have the right partners involved, I would go along the I-35 corridor. I don't care where you do it. As long as you're on the I-35 corridor between Austin and Dallas, you're going to make it big. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people want to see their parents, and they're willing to drive an hour and a half away. But the bigger assisted living centers are not within the core of the cities because it's too expensive. But people want their parents close so they can bring the grandkids, and they can come visit every week, every month, and it won't be too much out of the way. So if you're on the I-35 corridor right now, I'm seeing stuff far north in Denton. If you want to look at some of the bigger development north of Dallas, I'm seeing in smaller cities. But if you can stay along the I-35 corridor and make a decent facility, people are willing to put their parents there, and they're willing to drive there easily.
There were a few master plan communities. I'm going to bring up like Terra Vista, for example, in Round Rock, where they had an assisted living establishment like on site. And I thought, is that genius? I think that's genius. And then I started seeing a couple other little communities doing that, where it's a master plan community. You had your standard single family. You also have freestanding condos. You also have apartments. You also have multiple pools, schools, golf course, and now assisted living all in one. Oh, and a gated section all in one community. I thought, it's pretty genius.
Yeah.
They're putting all of the generations together. And Terra Vista, they started building that. Look at that guy. Look at it. Did you see that?
I know. How did you end up on this?
Oh, that's my thing. One of my things.
Are you Terra Vista there?
Say it again.
Where is that, Terra Vista?
It is. It's one of my listings at the time. I mean, this is
6 years ago.
6 years.
I just clicked on it.
That's pretty cool, Ian.
Thank you. So, but I bring that up because
Austin strikes again.
you have all of these variations and generations in life in one place. It's so cool in my mind. And there are a few like that I think the neighborhoods are starting to build like that. So when you're talking about Silver Tsunami, I'm thinking, okay, what about Santa Rita Ranch out in Liberty Hill? What about Easton Park, Southeast? Like, are they going to start doing that sort of thing too?
Well, I go back to fundamentals all the time. Probably it's just my engineering training is those numbers are going to be hitting, needing places to stay. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to a decent place that's closer to their kids, their grandkids, if they have that availability. And if you have that, then I think you've got a winner. So that's why we're in Waco. We're hour and a half away from Austin, hour and a half away from Dallas. So anywhere along the I-35 corridor, it doesn't have to be Waco. I think if you're going to hit the Silver Tsunami, that's where you want to be. And you want
San Marcos, for instance.
Yeah, San Marcos. You'll hit the San Antonio and Austin market, New Braunfels. So you want to be in between major cities with higher population so that they're not too far away from their grandkids.
I'm curious, for everybody that has done business like south in San Antonio, for example, or spent a lot of time there, have we seen like a lot of retirees in San Antonio? That doesn't seem like a location for a lot of retirees in my mind.
I bet the military retires there because there's already a lot of military.
I feel like if they retire, they're retiring and leaving.
May I say something?
Please. No, that's why we're asking. Yeah, open.
May I
Yeah,
say something?
please.
So I love San Antonio, and I've taken so many day trips there. And for a while, I was wanting to do business in San Antonio. So we took my YouTube channel to San Antonio, and I was able to explore a lot of neighborhoods. And we were looking at a lot of higher end neighborhoods, like Olmos Park is one of them. There's another one I can't remember, but they are similar to what Tarrytown is in Austin.
Got it.
And it was a significantly older demographic.
Huh.
And I think San Antonio, now this was just kind of these pockets. And then there's other one, Stone Oak, I think it's called. You see a lot of established professionals, and then I think you see like older folk there as well. I think just because San Antonio has, I would say, traditionally more of a family culture than probably Austin does.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just going to go ahead and say San Antonio is very much a Hispanic community. And in the Hispanic communities, it's like, let's have everybody close. Let's have mom and dad, let's have grandma, let's have aunt and uncle. So you tend to see more generations of a family living in San Antonio than you would in Austin.
You know, when you said that, my first thought, when San Antonio was first brought up, my first thought was military, I didn't go to the Hispanic community, but you are on point about
But both are true. I mean, there's a ton of military there as well. And then I learned that they have a really, really large medical community. That's kind of neither here nor there, but just as an aside. Yeah.
Well, when I was thinking of specifically the military, I was like, okay, well, they're going to leave and go somewhere else when they retire, right? To wherever their kids or grandkids are. They're just San Antonio, only they're career related. And now they're out. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people over and over do that. And so San Antonio was just a holding ground for a lot of people in the military. But then, like you said, the Hispanic influence and culture, that could be a big one.
Definitely.
Underestimated,
Yeah, I think there's more age diversity in San Antonio, definitely, than there is here in Austin.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Austin's very young.
Well, we do have Sun City.
Sort of.
Sort of. What do you mean? Sort of?
I don't know why I would say sort of. Nothing. Yeah. We do.
JJ, have you ever done any business in Sun City?
Not directly. I've been around there a lot.
Yeah, like it's 55 up, and I always remember when I first got my license, way back in 2015, and there was this one of my instructors. She goes, "Oh yeah, Sun City. That's where Matthew McConaughey's mom lives." I was like, okay. And that was just the thing that stuck out. And so I always thought it was this like incredible place. And as I learned more and more, I mean, I still think it's a really cool place, and there have been a few that have popped up since, but it just always made me think, okay, Silver Tsunami, what's going to happen with Sun City? Or are they going to build more of those outside of Austin?
So,
right. Because it's basically a master plan, assisted living without having the assistance directly in your home, but it caters to that demographic. You have a low property tax rate, generally low mortgages. You're not allowed to have kids there. Like it's all those things.
Lovely. You know, I think it's just kind of an aside too. I've had a handful of retirees reach out over the years.
Yep.
And they're people that have done really well. They're pretty much set. And at the same time, they want to make sure that wherever they end up, they can still afford to live there, that their taxes are going to be, they're usually cash buyers, but they want to make sure that the property taxes are going to be manageable and keep them within their budget so they can keep living a good lifestyle. And a lot of times, just because of the high property taxes in Austin proper, along with the high property values, it kind of like X's out for a lot of these retiree folks. They're just like, no, doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah. Even with the exemptions, it doesn't
a lot of times
quite do it.
Doesn't. Yeah.
The tax exemptions.
Yep.
JJ, you looking at Sun City? You gonna move? Making a move?
Silver Tsunami, that got my attention.
I mean, it's good, but so the other thing that, and I'm saying this because it still kind of aligns with our points. For a while there, a lot of our builders in these master plan communities were doing multi-generational homes.
Yeah.
Which was always, in my mind, I thought that is perfect for everybody, for almost everybody, and every type of culture as well. So I know, like, I'll use Lennar as an example. They did multi-generational where you'd buy this house. It'd be the main home would be 2,500 or 3,000 square feet. And the next thing you know, there'd be an attached apartment, or it would be attached. And that would be another 500 to 900 square feet by itself. Separate entrance, separate garage, beautiful build, still in the same community. So,
you know who else?
What most people did was rent it out, like as a Airbnb or VRBO.
Yeah, That's what I do. I don't rent it out. I always build two, one for my parents and one for us.
Genius.
If you look at 1102 and a half Street, Fiesta Street.
Want me to pull it up?
Yeah, just pull it up real quick.
So I just want this to be a hold question. You can come back, revisit this after. How do you feel about the zoning changes allowing 3 buildings?
Have you heard about that, Thuy? You been gone too long?
Yeah, I've been gone too long.
Well, we'll come back. We'll just hold that.
Well, hold that. I like it, but so this is what I always do. I build two, one for us and one for my parents. The one next door is about I think 800 something square feet. And this one, so I like the European style cabinets. We've been doing that for a long time. We just couldn't find it. Yeah, I like the modern, the contemporary cabinets since I've been doing build.
I see you're not actually putting flooring down either. You're just staining the concrete.
I love that concrete.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because I'm always bringing, and I do green builds. So part of being green is, besides from energy consumption, we do look at durability and reducing carbon footprint. And this is if you guys are builders, you probably know, we use the City of Austin Green Build Standards. They give you a rating on your build. So we build to the City of Austin Green Build Standards. But I use this design from Saigon, Vietnam, is because there's not a lot of land, and it's always like a straight front to back, very narrow. So I combined the Vietnamese architect into the Austin area to get as much square footage as possible, and that you always have a rooftop deck because you don't have enough green space. So I brought water, I brought electricity. We were going to do hydroponics up there. We're going to do a picnic area up there.
What's hydroponics?
So, hydroponics is you grow with water.
Oh, yes.
So that's why I brought gas up there for a grill. I brought water. I brought electricity up there. As you can see, I don't have a lot of land. So that's less than 7,000 square feet. And my bread and butter was always urban infill, condo duplexes.
That's so crazy. I love that you have you thought about, obviously you thought about the we'll call it the parent suite, right? Single story, easy access. And then the other one, you can go up as high as you want. You have all of the utilities and the fun stuff, like you said, to replace the land. It's a very, very clean build.
For those of y'all that don't, the viewers, this is an A-B unit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. On one lot that you're allowed to urban infill develop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like this design because I always build with my parents in mind. And then when we leave, we can sell each one separately for the highest value versus selling a single duplex.
Now,
I combined the Vietnamese architecture layout interior with the exterior of their American style. So that gave me a lot of room inside to play with.
So did you have a tear down, or did you modify an existing structure? How did that work?
No, these are all tear downs. You can't make any money. I used to be able to make money with a rehab in 2005 to around 2010. After that, you couldn't make any money. You just had to tear down and build new. Oh, I'm going to plug in for my own cabinet store here. So we tried on the small house. This is the big house. This is a custom cabinet build because we couldn't find European style in Austin. And small house, we took a gamble with the IKEA cabinets. It looked good, but the quality is terrible. So
it's like particle board.
Yeah, it was my first, not this house. This house was a custom cabinet builder. But now I can do all of this for cheaper than IKEA. I have a free design center for 2D, 3D model where we work with builders and contractors. And we have a one-day process. You go in, you design, You pick up your cabinets same day. So if anyone who says, he jokes around and says, I needed cabinets yesterday, my response is, why didn't you come yesterday? It was already here.
Oh.
So that's my plug for my cabinet stores, because I've been building for so long. And believe it or not, 2005, I couldn't find shaker in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I had to go to Louisiana, and then back in around after 2010, European style got hot. Before IKEA came in, until after IKEA, I still couldn't find good quality, affordable European style cabinets until now, where we have our own store to come up with that solution for ourselves and other builders.
I have a question.
Yes.
Will you tell us the name of your cabinet company?
Yeah, if you look up Quality Cabinets, tx.com.
Wow.
And then Quality Cabinets TX, Facebook / Quality Cabinets TX.
Okay. You said more affordable than IKEA?
Yes.
Okay.
Higher quality, guarantee it.
Man.
And do you guys, sorry, you're pulling it up now, but do you guys just do kind of the European modern style, or do you do like more traditional too?
No, we only do European style because you see our builds. It's very modern. It's very contemporary. So we cater to ourselves and other builders like us. We do have a budget line for apartments and hotels. That's not in store. We have to order that separately. But these here, those are 3D models that we can draw for you with our overlay. So
are you the designer, or did you hire a designer, the cabinet designer?
I'm the master designer, and then I do have employees that I've been training to do design work as well.
You using a CAD? What kind of CAD software are you using?
We're not using CAD. We're using CAD Builder. It can overlay our colors onto your design, so you don't have to imagine what it looks like.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we came up with this because, like I said, we couldn't find this affordably, so we said, heck, I'll do it affordably.
Do you do outdoor cabinets? So like if somebody has an outdoor setup?
If it's under roof, it's water resistant, scratch resistant, and we have a set outside of the manufacturing for a year and a half. Yeah. And it's still intact. Everything's good. So we've tested it for over a year and a half. As long as you don't have direct water hitting the cabinets, if it's under roof and it's outdoors, you're good. Because our cabinets, when we had the problem, we bought cabinets that were already pre-manufactured, and we found out the quality, some of it warped. So now we've worked that out where we have immediate inventory and we can store between 0 to 100 degrees, and we're not worried about warping. We worked out a lot of the engineering with the manufacturer. And you can see some of that on our Facebook, what we've been doing to improve our quality over time.
That's great.
But yeah, you can see there it's like 3/4 inch plywood, very thick, very heavy. Screws are scratch resistant, pre-doweled. You go onto our website, you see a lot of the quality we're talking about. And that was just because we had a really, really bad experience with IKEA. And it's like, but where can we go to get those cabinets? So here you go.
Nice.
Awesome.
Ian, you had a question about the new.
Oh yeah, the zoning. So being able to put 3 buildings on one lot, because before you were doing 2, right? What would you do knowing that that's opened up? How would you build? Would that change your build, or kind of?
I would have to redesign it, but I definitely would encourage that. So in Vietnam, Saigon is over 10 million people. So I'm used when Austin started doing VMU, vertical mixed use. Everyone was like, "Oh, that's so cool." It's like, duh. Wouldn't every big city do that? So I'm used to the vertical mixed use. I'm used to the high density builds, and I'm very confident in the city like Austin, where the civil engineers have taken care of, all the drainage issues, all the sewer issues, so that when they allow it, that we won't have a flooding issue. Like Houston, for example, I've seen 8 units on one lot. But Houston has huge flooding issues, right? Because some of their zoning or not lack of zoning. So if Austin is giving it to you, I feel very confident in their engineering team. I totally take full advantage of it. For the build that you saw there, it took me 3 months to design 2 forward-facing houses. Before, if you look at a lot of the other builders, they'd had a big house in the front and then a side entry and to a house in the back. Well, you can really, if you were the one that bought the condo in the back, you didn't really have a view and people couldn't see you. So I spent 3 months laying out exactly how to feel good. And none of my houses you ever feel cramped. I don't have maybe like 9 square feet of wasted space in hallways. Everything is well connected. And we can show, if I ever come back, I'll show you a layout of that so you can see how you can design very, very efficiently without a lot of waste.
I actually love that for an episode. So JJ, mark that somewhere. That'd be a really cool episode. Like how to
it took me 3 months to lay that out.
Because that's what's happening now. How are you going to do that with 3 units on a lot?
I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. I've been designing small space in Austin for 15 years plus. So I love small spaces and challenging myself how to create the most efficient use of it without, like I said, probably 9 square feet of wasted space, meaning a hallway from a bedroom out. And very little things that over time you sit there and then the light pops up and it's like, oh yeah, if I move the door this way, then I've got this much extra space. And I'll show you that. You just have to see it to see what I'm talking about. It's hard to imagine what I'm saying without seeing a picture of it.
So regarding this new, I've been corrected. It's not necessarily new zoning because it's still SF1, SF2, SF3. They're just allowing 3 units on SF1, SF2, and SF3. So based on what we're talking about earlier, this, as long as the numbers work, because you're flipping, I guess, land and material, they're going to get absorbed based on employment, East Austin. Like you would play with these numbers and continue to develop.
Oh yeah. If I was still in Austin, I would definitely continue. I would encourage everyone to do urban infill project. That is the easiest math you can do. There's no prediction of the future. It's an easy, here's the current comps. It takes me about a year to build. And it's gonna, if you get creative with the landowner and you pay him part up front and then you pay him over time, and you let him live there until you're ready to develop. So I've been very creative in reducing costs, upfront costs on land and property taxes and insurance. And I know all you guys are realtors, but I usually talk my realtors into letting me talk to the homeowner to create a situation where it benefits me and the homeowner, the existing homeowner before I buy it, to reduce costs by a lot before I take it. And sometimes I bring them in as a partner and say, okay, well, I wanted to pay $300,000, but you think it's worth $400,000, let's go for it. But here are the terms, right? If we can't sell it for this price, then you're going to give it to me for $300,000. But if you can, I'll give you it for the price of $400,000 when we sell. So there's a lot of creativity you can do. You don't have to have all the money in the world. Like I said, I'm super lazy. I bring in partners. I partner with the existing owner. Just be super creative, or else, almost every deal is going to be a dead deal if you just buy it straight off of MLS or if you buy it off a wholesaler.
Here's another interesting thing is they just started these applications in February. So these applications are starting to get accepted and approved. Then they're going to build for, let's say, a year. So maybe a year from now, we'll see product. But the thing is to put 3 units on one lot, you're going to start seeing more tiny home structures like 1 bed, 1 bath, maybe 2 bed, 1 bath. Oh, yeah. And there's still that, what exactly is the market for that? Because people are a little hesitant on what the comp is. I do appreciate how you brought up the work with the homeowner, because you'll work off a percentage of what it sells at, maybe. That's what you're suggesting. Do you think that will still get absorbed, like a 2-1 on the east side?
Yes, and here's why. I was hesitant when they did the ADU, right? This is back when East Side had the highest crime rate, and
Yeah.
we're talking about 2-1s and 1-1. It's like, who would buy that? Well, hindsight is, 20 plus years later. Well, there's a market for that and now as I'm looking at millennials, they don't like to be stuck in stuff they have to take care of a lot, and they're very mobile and they move around a lot, and sometimes they just want a place to go home and sleep, and they'd rather rent than to buy. But if it's something that's affordable and it's clean and it's elegant and it's centrally located, I think there's a market for that. And I was the one that was hesitant back in 2005 when people were doing ADUs and selling for about 200,000. Of course, now they're selling for 500,000. But
yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like, is some young or whatever demographic gonna eat that for $500,000? And it's a smaller, but like you said, it's a targeted group.
But let me put things into perspective for you. In 1999, I built my first house, 3,600 square feet, 5 bedrooms on Palmer Lane. $175,000. And I'm seeing people buying these ADUs for about 200,000. I was like, that's ridiculous. Get out of here. Who's going to buy that? But I was proven wrong, so I joined the party and I did what everyone else is doing because there are comps for that. And now you don't want to be the trailblazer. That's fine. Wait a year, like you said, when these ADU 2s come up, and then you're going to see comps for those, right? Those trailblazers, I'm pretty sure they calculated in the risk already. If it was me and I'm doing 3 units, I've already calculated in the risk. Where if I'm holding it, I can rent it out. I can sell it for a minimum of $200, $300 a square foot. That's like super cheap. You're not going to get that anywhere in Austin, right? So, but I'm not going to sell it for that. I'm going to be hitting, because I know my build is very high quality. So I'm going to try to hit at least median range to higher. But I was like you guys. I was hesitant on the ADU back in 2005, but I saw what was going on and I started doing it, and I didn't stop since.
Let me add some clarification. I'm not hesitant on it. I think it's going to go crazy.
I think so.
My question is, how is it confined, and what does it do to the environment because you're increasing this population density? Because if you go to like, so I've been to Singapore, right? Like you go to Singapore, not in the shopping district, but out into the favelas in Brazil or something like that, where it's just clusters of houses. That's where I see the distant future being, and that becomes a lot.
Well, I can answer some of those questions. I mean, you're talking about the environment, right?
Yeah.
So really, there's not much of environment left on the densely populated area.
Yeah.
So
that's one way to put
you're not really destroying any wildlife there.
Yeah.
Being an engineer, I would be hesitant if we were in Houston, right? But I know the civil engineering in Austin is top notch. They're not going to let you do anything that's going to, use over capacity for our sewer system, or the land grading, where you were at 40% impervious cover because you needed to absorb the water into the ground. So everything has been taken into account. I'm pretty sure the engineering department is not going to sit there and allow that where the city is going to flood. So when you're talking about environment, I think the engineering side has been taken care of. They're not going to introduce these high density zoning and builds into areas that are more forestry and lower density. So I don't think that's going to affect the environment that way. But VMUs were great when they introduced it. It's still awesome. I think this is a good use of land if civil engineering says it's a good deal.
Interesting. Very good. Daphne, JJ, any closing thoughts?
So much information there.
It's a lot. I know, right?
Yeah. Just kind of a quick note too. Like I don't see Austin developing out like they would in other parts of the world, like Brazil you mentioned. It's just because people in Texas want it to stay Texas, and they're very, very vocal about that. And also people come to Texas because they want land and they want space. So I do think there'll be a lot of development, but I think it would be kind of a far cry to think that we're going to turn into like a little cluster of like favelas and
But also Austin's different than a lot of the other places in Texas.
It is. It is
so
very
that's going
different.
to be a variable in there. And then especially if people are able to buy but not live here because they don't need to live here to work here.
Yep.
Ooh. JJ, what do you think?
Thuy, I appreciate you and your expertise. I like the idea of the numbers. I mean, it was number 7 on the Wall Street Journal for job growth. Like Thuy said, where are people going to live?
You guys cannot go wrong. Keep investing in Austin. Keep building in Austin. Keep buying and selling in Austin. The numbers just can't lie. They don't go anywhere.
Any other closing thoughts, y'all?
No, this is all good.
All right. Well, that's time, everybody. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Catch us next time. Real Estate Lab. Thuy, thanks again for coming on board.
Thanks, Thuy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much.